I've spent more than 2 decades as a cardiovascular surgeon. I've performed hundreds of open-heart procedures. I've stood in operating theaters at 2 in the morning, working to save someone whose body had been quietly failing for years. Long before any alarm went off, long before any symptom showed up, long before anyone thought to look. And in all that time, the one condition I've seen destroy more lives slowly and silently than almost anything else is high blood pressure. Not because it's incurable, not because medicine has failed us, but because we've been given an incomplete picture of what it is, what causes it, and what we can actually do about it. So today I want to give you something different. Not a prescription, not a list of foods to avoid. What I want to give you is understanding, real clinical understanding, followed by a practical 10-minute routine that targets the actual root causes of elevated blood pressure in ways most people have never been told about. This is especially important if you're over 60, because after 60, your body plays by slightly different rules, and the standard advice simply doesn't go far enough. Let's start with what's actually happening inside your body, because the moment you understand the mechanism, everything else falls into place. Your arteries are not rigid pipes. They're living tissue, made of smooth muscle and elastic fibers that are designed to expand and contract with every single heartbeat. When your heart pumps, a healthy artery stretches slightly to accommodate the surge of blood, then springs back. That flexibility is what keeps pressure regulated. It acts as a buffer, a shock absorber. But here's what decades of life do to that tissue. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, those walls begin to stiffen. The elastic fibers lose their spring. The smooth muscle becomes less responsive. And a stiffer artery, one that can no longer flex with each heartbeat, generates significantly more pressure with every pulse. That's not a theory. That's basic physics applied to human biology. Now, this process accelerates after 60, not because something has gone wrong, but because it's a natural consequence of aging. Think of a rubber band that's been stretched thousands of times over many years. It doesn't snap back the way it used to. Your arteries are the same. And the standard recommendations, take a brisk walk, cut back on salt, maybe lose a few pounds, are not wrong. But they're also not enough. They don't directly address arterial stiffness. They don't retrain the vascular system. They don't engage the specific physiological levers that can genuinely reverse this process. That's the gap. And that's exactly what this protocol is designed to fill. There's also a second factor that almost nobody talks about in enough depth. Your nervous system. Your body operates on a balance between two states. The first is a high-alert, activated state, the kind your body enters when you're under stress, facing a deadline, or reacting to something frightening. In this state, your heart rate climbs, your blood vessels narrow, and your blood pressure rises. The second state is a calm, restorative one, the kind your body enters when you feel safe, relaxed, and at ease. In this state, your heart slows down, your vessels open up, and your pressure drops. The problem for millions of people over 60 is that their nervous system never fully reaches that second state. Even sitting quietly in a chair, even lying in bed at night, their body is running at a low but constant level of activation. And that chronic background stress keeps blood pressure elevated around the clock. No pill fully addresses this. No amount of salt restriction fixes it. It requires a different kind of intervention entirely. And then there's a third factor, one so simple it almost sounds too basic to matter, but the research on it is unambiguous. Hydration. When your body is even mildly dehydrated, your blood becomes thicker, more viscous. Your blood vessels respond by constricting slightly, trying to maintain adequate circulation with less fluid volume. And constricted vessels mean higher pressure. What makes this especially relevant after 60 is that the body's ability to sense dehydration weakens with age. The thirst mechanism becomes less reliable. You can be meaningfully dehydrated and feel nothing. No dry mouth, no fatigue, no obvious signal. Which means a significant portion of older adults are chronically operating in a state of mild dehydration and experiencing elevated blood pressure as a direct result, without ever connecting the two. 3 separate root causes: arterial stiffness, nervous system dysregulation, and chronic dehydration. And this 10-minute morning routine addresses all three of them in sequence, each step building on the one before it. The first part takes 6 minutes, and it involves a type of exercise most people have never thought of as medicine: isometric exercise. These are movements in which your muscles contract and hold without your body actually moving. A wall sit, where you slide your back down a flat wall until your thighs are level with the floor and simply hold that position. A forearm plank, where you support your body in a straight line from your heels to your shoulders, weight resting on your forearms, core engaged, and hold. That's it. No motion, no equipment, no gym membership required. What happens inside your body during these holds is remarkable. As your muscles contract and sustain that effort, blood flow to those muscles temporarily decreases. The vessels compress under the muscular tension. And then, the moment you release, the moment you stand up from the wall, sit, or lower yourself from the plank, those vessels flood with blood. They dilate rapidly. They expand. And it's that repeated cycle, the compression followed by the rush, the holding followed by the release, that over time literally retrains your artery walls to be more supple, more elastic, more responsive. It is, in the most accurate sense, physical therapy for your vascular system. A major analysis published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine in 2023 reviewed more than 200 studies comparing different forms of exercise and their effects on blood pressure. The finding was striking. Isometric exercise produced the greatest reductions in both the upper and lower blood pressure numbers, outperforming traditional cardio, resistance training, and every other category tested. For adults over 60 with elevated pressure, regular isometric training reduced the upper number by an average of 10 points. To put that in clinical terms, 10 points of reduction is roughly equivalent to the effect of adding a second blood pressure medication for many patients. Achieved in 6 minutes on your living room floor, in whatever you happen to be wearing. The protocol is straightforward. 2 minutes of wall sit, back flat against the wall, thighs parallel to the floor. Then 2 minutes of forearm plank, body straight, core firm. Then 2 more minutes of wall sit. 6 minutes total. If you're just starting out, begin with 30 seconds of each and add 15 seconds per week. The most important thing during all of it is to keep breathing. Slow, steady, normal breath throughout. The moment you hold your breath during an isometric hold, the pressure effect reverses. So breathe in and out, calmly and continuously. The second part of the routine lasts 2 minutes, and it targets that second root cause, the chronically activated nervous system. What you're going to do is breathe at a very specific rhythm. Inhale slowly through your nose for 5 full seconds. Then exhale gently through your mouth for 5 full seconds. That's 1 breath. 6 breaths per minute. Done sitting quietly, eyes closed, hands resting on your thighs. Just 2 minutes. This rhythm has a name in clinical research. It's called resonance frequency breathing, and it's not a relaxation technique in the casual sense. It's a precise physiological intervention. At exactly 6 breaths per minute, something measurable happens inside the body. Your heart rate and blood pressure begin to oscillate in perfect synchrony with your breath. The vagus nerve, a long, branching nerve that runs from your brainstem down through your chest and into your abdomen, activates strongly. And when the vagus nerve fires, it directly engages the calming, restorative branch of your nervous system. Heart rate drops. Blood vessels relax and dilate. The body shifts out of its low-grade alert state and into genuine rest. Multiple randomized clinical trials have shown that 8 weeks of consistent daily practice at this breathing rhythm reduces systolic blood pressure by 8 to 10 points on average. Again, comparable to medication with no side effects. And here is why the sequence matters. Your arteries have just been through 6 minutes of isometric training. They're already primed, already more open and responsive than they were 20 minutes ago. Now, your nervous system is catching up. The vasodilation from the isometrics and the vasodilation from vagal activation work together, layering their effects on top of each other. That's not an accident. That's why this protocol is designed the way it is. The third and final part takes 2 minutes, and it is the simplest of all. You're going to drink water. but the way you drink it matters more than you might expect. Pour yourself approximately 450 to 500 milliliters, roughly 16 ounces, just under 2 standard glasses, and drink it in small, deliberate sips. One sip every 10 to 15 seconds. Slowly, calmly, without rushing. When water is gulped quickly, the body registers it as something requiring immediate management. There's a subtle stress response. The activating branch of the nervous system nudges upward. But when water is taken in slow, measured sips, the opposite occurs. The calming branch of the nervous system is gently reinforced. The parasympathetic state you just created with your breathing is extended and deepened. And at the same time, you're addressing the third root cause directly, rehydrating your blood, reducing its viscosity, giving your blood vessels the fluid they need to relax and open fully. Think of this final step as the seal. The isometrics opened your arteries. The breathing calmed your nervous system. The slow sipping locks both effects in place and carries them forward into your morning. Now, like any protocol worth following, this one only works if you actually do it, and do it consistently. The research on habit formation is clear on one point. Willpower is not a reliable engine for long-term behavior change. What works is structure. Specifically, what behavioral scientists call habit stacking. Attaching a new behavior to something you already do automatically. Pick one anchor in your morning. Something that happens every single day without thought. The moment your coffee finishes brewing. The moment you finish brushing your teeth. The moment you sit down at your kitchen table. Whatever it is, make the 10-minute protocol the immediate next thing. No decision required. No motivation needed. The anchor triggers the action, and over time, the action becomes as automatic as the anchor itself. Track your progress on paper. A simple wall calendar with an X marked for every completed session. After a week, you have a chain of marks, and something genuine happens psychologically. You don't want to break it. That chain becomes its own motivation. It replaces the need for willpower entirely. If 10 minutes feels too ambitious at the start, begin with 5. 30 seconds of wall sit, 30 seconds of plank, 1 minute of breathing, 1 minute of slow sipping. A shorter version still delivers real benefit. And starting somewhere, anywhere, is always better than waiting until conditions feel perfect. One thing I want to be honest with you about. This protocol is not a substitute for medication in people with severely elevated numbers. If your systolic pressure is consistently above 160, please speak with your physician. This routine complements medical treatment. It doesn't replace it when the stakes are that high. But for the majority of adults over 60 dealing with mildly to moderately elevated pressure, this kind of targeted, evidence-based lifestyle intervention can produce results that are genuinely significant. I have seen it happen. I have watched people committed to this kind of consistency bring their numbers down meaningfully over 6 to 8 weeks. Not because of magic, because of physiology, because they gave their bodies the right signals consistently every morning. Your arteries are not finished adapting. Your nervous system is not done responding. Your body, even at 60, even at 70, even at 80, retains a remarkable capacity to shift in the right direction when you give it what it needs. The evidence is there. The mechanism is understood. The protocol is simple. What remains is the decision to begin, and then the discipline to keep going one morning at a time.